I've Jenna and Naliyah here to talk about all things interns, what you've learned, how you mentor, and your best advice for folks who want to bring interns onto their team. Jenna.
Sounds great. Yes, my name's Jenna Stenderup. I'm the founder of Spoke Strategies. We work in the AEO realm, so helping businesses elevate their web presence through their website, social media channels to ensure that those AI platforms are citing their business. So they're getting found as AI becomes sort of the search tool that everyone is using these days.
And Naliyah, tell us about both your amazing businesses.
Yes, so my name is Jenna Edwards. I'm the founder of Kickstart Swim and Social Currency. So Kickstart Swim is a private mobile swim instructing company. We bring swim lessons right to our clients' own doors and help bring that convenience and accessibility to swim lessons. And so that is Kickstart Swim. But for Social Currency, we are a digital marketing agency that acts as a fractional CMO for our clients. We help our clients get more clients at the end of the day through different digital marketing strategies. So I had three interns. One was like a marketing, but also slash business, business administration intern. The other one was an HR intern, and then my last one was a finance intern. And so they wanted to kind of get experience in those respective areas within kind of a marketing agency industry business.
Great, awesome. And then Jenna, who were your folks on your team?
Yeah, so I worked with three interns. One was an accounting intern, and then one was a business major with a focus in entrepreneurship. And then my third intern, he was still undecided. So he was majoring in business, but didn't know if he wanted to go into more of a software direction or general business. So he was still finding his path.
One thing that I always advise folks to do when they bring on interns into their team is make sure that the interns own the project, that they feel like they're in charge. It's as if they are the business owner and you, as the business owner, work for the intern, right?
Mhm.
They're ultimately in charge. Is that something you felt like you were able to achieve in this particular session with these interns?
It was really important to me that the interns were getting sort of equal value out of the program that I was getting from them. So I actually started with brainstorming sort of like 5 to 6 different areas where I needed support getting my business off the ground. And before our first meeting, actually sent an email out to all three and say, hey, do any of these areas resonate with you? Are you interested in learning more? And can this help you sort of evolve into your career as you're deciding where you want to take it? So it was a collaborative process deciding with them what really was going to interest them and keep them engaged.
Two of my interns were very motivated to take the autonomy, which was really important to me. Also, as a young entrepreneur, I was an intern not so long ago. Like I've done internships not so long ago, and what really helped me be engaged and go above and beyond is when I had autonomy in my projects. And also, as a business owner, I didn't have time to sit there and micromanage three interns on top of what I'm doing. So that was really important to me. But to kind of what Jenna says, it also depends on the intern's like personality, I think, as well. So two of my interns ran with that with autonomy and didn't need as much management. I not even management, but didn't need as much like little direction. They ran with it when it came to being a problem solver. I set that expectation at the beginning is that that's something before they came to me with a question. I wanted them to do some problem solving, Google it, and then if they still couldn't get to that answer, then come to me. And I kind of set that expectation at the beginning. Um, and I also let them know that like what I in the project that I designed, I outlined what I wanted. I outlined like the X like the deliverables, but I wanted them to have the opportunity to figure out which way or how to get there. And I let them know that like there's no wrong answer, but you need to make sure that you document your process, and you can back it up when you're um, kind of telling us what your project was, how you got there, and what it is. So that was important for me to explain to my interns at the beginning. And I think that really worked for two of my interns. There was another intern who he just needed a lot more kind of like what Jenna said, direction and guidance, and he wasn't as motivated, I think, to take that autonomy. It was more so like, I just want to know what to do and I'll do it.
Yeah.
And so that was a different personality that I had to work with, from an intern, owner, relationship.
Hear this from entrepreneurs all the time of like, I've tried working with interns, it didn't work because exactly what you just said, Naliyah, is
Yeah.
they feel like they're constantly having that intern come back to them. What do I do next? What do I do next? What do I do?
Yeah.
And it's like bogging them down, and they say it's more work than
Yeah.
it's worth, right?
Yeah.
And it's this fine line. And so, Naliyah, let me ask you this. You're 22, like you said, you're
Yeah.
not too far past this
Yeah.
age of interns. What is your advice to entrepreneurs to motivate or try to motivate
Yeah.
this generation?
Yeah. Well, I think first things first is going to be, doing most of the work in the beginning, right? So I think sometimes when people get caught up is that they aren't very clear with their expectations for their interns, the project outline. And so the interns keep coming back to them, and it's not even necessarily the intern's fault at this point when they're like, I'm not exactly sure what you're looking for. I don't understand the expectations. And so they're kind of trying to gauge you as well. And then you're spending a lot of time sitting here holding hands with the intern. So I think doing a lot of the front work. And so when I created the projects for each intern, it was a very detailed project in the sense of what I was looking for, my expectations, and how communications would work, how the check-ins would work, and building that out. And so that was very detailed for each intern, and that was, spent a few hours doing that. But I think that was extremely important because when it came down the line and interns had questions, they could refer to their project. They refer to the scope of the work, and that would answer most of their questions. And so I think that one is really important, for them to feel empowered, and then feel motivated to do the work without having to come to me every 5 seconds for a little question. So I think that's first things first, is making sure that you set them up for success. And I, as someone who is not far off, has been in many internships that didn't do that properly. And so I wanted to make sure that I did that properly. I think the other thing is, making sure that you cheer on your interns when they do something fantastic. I think that that's really important, especially if you want to motivate them to take the lead. If they bring to you an idea, and even if it's an idea that you're like, we're not going to use that, but like, that was great. Like, thank you. I love that you thought about that. I love that you came up with that. I love that you tried to solve that problem, and like, let's sit here and walk through kind of how this would work out, and maybe why it wouldn't work out, but I really like that piece that you added. And so I'm going to take that. So I think that's another thing that I did with my business. I really praise them when they problem solved, when they came up with new ideas, when they offered a solution, when they came to me, but before they just asked me questions. And I think that motivated them to keep going. I think another thing, which I believe we got from Jenna, was working with them together, and kind of using them, for lack of better words, like in competition with each other, not in competition with each other, but to see how, if you have a really successful intern and you're going over the work with them in a group and they see, hey, this is a standard, this is what other interns are hitting, maybe I can do better in my work. I think that's another way that you can indirectly motivate your interns, to do better work. So I think that's another tip that I would use.
Yeah. And speaking to that point, just wanted to jump in when we're talking about motivation. One thing that I had wished that I had been a little more clear about in the beginning was really sharing with them the vision and getting them a little more excited about what they were working on. I think I too quickly jumped into the tactics of it all and what can we do on a really granular level to get this off the ground. But I wish I had spent more time saying, hey, this is the vision. This is why I'm excited about building this company. And here's why I think it can really make a difference for business owners. And we kind of did that halfway through. And I think if I had shared that in the beginning and they could really understand how they were individually contributing to the larger picture, I think could have sparked more of that motivation and just wanting to be more of a leader in their individual roles on the outset. So I think that really would have helped. But then, as Naliyah was speaking to, I found that sort of building a leaderboard and showing where each intern was sort of throughout the project that I had set up was a great way to spark a little fire under the others that might be like, oh, lagging behind. And another reason I loved getting them together every week is I had one intern who was really great, sort of explaining his critical thinking and his analysis and why he was making the recommendations and suggestions he was making. So I thought it was really important for the two other interns to see that thought process, and that was really what I was looking for out of each of them. So it was great to get them together and sort of talk about it, all three of us. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. Jenna, how did you give them feedback?
So a lot of it was remote. We worked in Google Docs. A lot of it was in comments. And then if I felt like there was a need to provide pretty significant direction, I would get on one-on-one calls with them and sort of talk it through. And sort of like Naliyah was saying, it was like, great, I really appreciate the direction that you're taking this. And here is what I think is really useful. Here's what I'd like you to give me more of your thought process on, or tell me more about why you were thinking in this direction, and then use that as an opportunity to sort of course correct as we needed. So I found that the commenting in Google Docs maybe wasn't the most effective, even though that was their preferred mode of working. But sort of encouraging them to get on a one-on-one video call with me seemed to help just provide the color that might be missing just when trying to provide one-off comments to what they were delivering.
Naliyah, did you have any formal way to provide feedback?
Yeah, so the way that I set up my interns is that we met weekly on a Fridays for I think like maybe an hour and a half. And through there they would present their deliverables for that week and we kind of go through right there. Any questions that not any questions, but kind of go through right there, kind of their thought process, if there's anything that needed to be reworked, kinds of solutions for any questions that they had. But I also really press them to have looked for next week's deliverable before that meeting. And so that way they can come to me before they even start the project with any questions that they have. And so we're not, last minute looking and they're like, oh, wait, how do I do this? And I'm like, that's due tomorrow. So that kind of I think helped with making sure that they were on time, on point, but also that we weren't dealing with last minute issues of turning in work. But I think a lot of their feedback was done via Zoom. Any little questions that they had, they could email me anytime, and I made sure that that was very clear. Like you can email me at 3 a.m. I won't respond, but please like ask questions. And I think that that's another thing with making sure that your interns feel empowered is knowing that asking questions is okay. I'd rather you ask more questions than not enough questions. And so making sure that they felt comfortable doing that, I think got better results at the end because there was no wondering, oh, should I do this? Oh, is this wrong? It was very clear.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you touch on something that's so important. Both of you said it. You met with them weekly. That is absolutely critical, is
Mhm.
having that FaceTime, whether it's on Zoom or what we recommend now that you're both Hera Hub members,
Yeah.
is bring your interns in person because face to face, nothing beats it, right? Get in a room on the whiteboard, sit next to each other, elbow to elbow, and also just plug for Hera Hub, then they're
Yeah.
around other professionals. They can see what a professional environment, and professionals look like, what an office feels like, that kind of thing. So we always encourage our members to bring their interns in, get them involved in programming, how to show up, how to shake hands, how to interact with people, have those like awkward, as they would say, conversations in the kitchen, how to make small talk with
Yeah,
people. Like these are skills that are
definitely.
so important in real life, right?
Definitely. And I want to touch on what you said. It was so that it's so important to have that face to face. Originally, when I built out the internship program for my interns, I was like very much about autonomy and not micromanaging. I was like, I don't need to meet with them weekly, like bi-weekly. And they will have like ownership for that week. The next week, then we'll meet with each other. And I quickly realized that that was not going to work, that there needed to be much more management and oversight. And I think it worked really well doing that every week thing, even though, it took more time on my part or the thought of another hour. But I genuinely think overall it would have taken more time out of my day if I were to see them every other week and have to, manage the issues of them not being able to ask me questions every week, me not having oversight of their project every week. So yeah, so I think that was also really important as a cadence.
If folks can at least get two interns together, three is better. Get four, get five. I always say get an army of interns
Yeah.
because they will support each other if set up correctly, like you both said. Set up the project, set up the goals, build the big picture, make sure they understand what they're getting involved in, why. You have to build the why. You have to make sure they understand the big mission from the get-go. But if you can build an army of interns and they can all support each other, if done correctly, and they're not coming back to you with every single little question, hopefully they can then lean on each other.
I think that's a great point. And it simulates what it is like to be in the work world when you're working for a big corporate company. You've got a team, you've got to rely on that team, openly communicate, pressure test, ask questions, because you can't be going to the CEO with every little question that you've got. That's just not going to work. So I think that is a great way just to get everyone prepared for here's what it's like in the real world and what to expect and how real teams work together. So
I think one of the big misconceptions that I get on a regular basis is folks will say, I need help in my business. I'm going to get an intern.
mhm.
And what they don't realize is interns are usually more work than you get
Right.
benefit from. And legally, that is the case, to be honest. If you look at the labor laws in your
Yeah.
state,
Yes.
it
Yeah.
it it legally has to benefit the intern more than it benefits you. And so what I
Exactly.
typically will say to them is, no, you need an assistant that you
Yes.
pay. You
It's
don't
just
need
thinking that.
an intern.
Right.
Well, these are the projects that you're like, gosh, someday it'd be great to do fill in the blank, right?
Yes.
Those are
Yeah.
perfect intern projects for you,
Right.
right? Because they're not mission critical to your business. They're nice to have, and you can package them up and say, hey, intern, go play with this, right?
No, I think that's a great point. And sort of making that differentiation of is this right for an intern? Is this right for a VA? Or is this something that AI could, I can automate through an AI system? I think are three really important buckets to look at. And I think when working with interns, for me, it was great to feel like, okay, what's some really like deep think projects that are going to require, weeks and weeks and weeks to think through, have a lot of different elements that maybe is not right for a VA that you're paying hourly, or, some of those admin things that need a quick turnaround fall more in that bucket of a VA. Because if you're going to try to assign that to an intern that's also managing coursework and a social life and everything else that goes in the college world, they're not going to be the ones that are responding to emails for you or scheduling things on your calendars. So yeah, I think that is another really important thing to think about when bringing on an intern. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're going to disappear in 3 months, right?
Exactly. Right.
And they
Right.
should be getting school credit.
Right.
Should.
Right.
Now, some folks have someone who shows up on their doorstep, or like a friend of a friend or a
Yeah.
friend of a friend's kid, or, whatever, that says, I need help, with my friend's daughter who needs experience, or son or whatnot. I think it's important to talk about that because there are a lot of folks that need experience and they're not getting school credit. So you have a decision to make. Do you want to support them getting experience without school credit? We don't pay our interns right out of the gate.
Hmm.
We try to find interns that need school credit.
Hmm.
We say these exact words. If you prove to me that you are a rock star and you show up and you follow through and we create a project that you show me you are a rock star on, then the second project, we will create an opportunity to have a paid project. We will carve out a goal for that project. You hit that goal, we'll agree to a project price. And when you hit that goal, I will pay you when you complete that project, just like a consultant would. But we don't pay you X dollars an hour just because you show up and put your butt in a seat.
Right,
just like
right.
an entrepreneur doesn't get paid to just show up. So, an important distinction, I think, for folks.
And I think that's a great point, and actually somewhere that I have been nervous to explore because the legal ramifications of working with a college intern are very cut and dry. You understand in black and white, they are getting college credits for the work that they are doing for you, as long as you're proving everybody's getting value out of it. For me, it's a little more of a gray area when you just have someone that's interested in what you do and maybe want to learn. So I'm glad that you brought up that point and maybe a conversation for a later date. I think you did a great job of explaining a way to manage it, but some of the legalities of that have made me a little nervous to
Yeah.
jump into a relationship like
And
that.
and
Yeah.
it should make you nervous, right? Because you've
Yes.
got to be careful. So my advice to folks, I had a member ask me about this the other day. I say, don't call it an internship, call it an apprenticeship, call it something
Okay.
else, make up a different
Even
word,
better.
right?
Yes.
Just call it something else.
Yes. Right.
We
And that's
used
a
to have
great
a,
way. Yes, to protect yourself. I mean, because we always want to be protecting ourselves
yeah,
as business owners,
yeah,
and you never know. Hopefully, you're always working with good people that are on the up and up, but you never know out there. So I
exactly.
think that is an excellent point to think about when you're bringing on someone to do. It's not necessarily free labor.
No,
There is the exchange, but when there's
yeah,
not money,
yes.
going out the door, things to
Yes,
think
you
about.
have to be careful. We used to have a program we called Experience-ship, where folks that were getting back into the workforce. So, net, just get creative.
Yes.
Most of the schools have moved to a platform called Handshake because it makes it easy to then connect. So, you want to list your internship. You want to have a good description, an attractive description that makes it sound fun, frankly.
Yeah,
You've got
that's a great point. Yeah, I
That's a
even
really good
asked
point.
AI, I'm like, how can I make this appealing to somebody in Gen Z? So yeah, that's a
totally.
great point. Yeah.
Yeah, don't make it sound boring. I mean,
Right.
come
Yes,
on.
exactly.
Let's be honest,
Right.
right? So you got to make it sound marketable. List it on Handshake, but also connect with the Career Center, right? Connect with some of the professors. I know at SDSU, where you both had interns, there are some departments that have mandatory internships. Now, a lot of the universities have gone away, pulled back on mandatory internships, which to me is insane and terrible and
I
doing
agree.
like a disservice to these students, but be that as it may, there are some programs that still have mandatory internships. Figure out what programs those are, make friends with the professors and the department chairs, and find them on LinkedIn and send them messages and say, hey, here's my listing on Handshake. If you have any students that you recommend, let's connect. Go offer to speak at their classrooms as a guest speaker. Because I taught college and I know I loved bringing in guest speakers. And guess what? After your talk, say, hey, I have internships, and you're going to get an army of interns.
I think that
Yeah.
is a great, and not many people speak on that. So I love that you just sort of gave us the black and white process of here's how to do it, here's how to get the word out, here's the right people to connect with. Because for me, it was a mystery, especially going out on my own and becoming an entrepreneur. Had I not run into this program, would have had no idea how do I get interns and interest from potential interns. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
fun.
And yeah, and I would love to add kind of like on how to get interns, but also kind of how maybe to filter to getting really ambitious interns is at like you at USD or at any college, not only just going to speak in the classroom, but they most of the time they have like business clubs, like women in business is one. They
Exactly.
have like finance fraternities. And so a lot of them, if you reach out, they're looking for speakers, but also they're looking for, to set their students up with an internship. And so I feel like that would be another way that I would say you can kind of filter to have the top of the top students as well, and it's very niche and also a very niche subject. So like there's finance fraternities, there's finance clubs, there's accounting clubs, and so being able to find an intern in that specific section as well, I think would be really great. And also even schools who don't require internships, a lot of them will give in like class credit in exchange for an internship. And a lot of students, especially juniors and seniors, don't want to take another class. They'd rather just do an internship for experience. And so I think that that's a great area for universities who aren't requiring internships, but a lot of their students still are doing internships in lieu of college credit. So
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I just did this, Naliyah. Women in Business at SDSU
yeah,
went to their LinkedIn page. I did speak at that business club about a year and a
yeah,
half ago. So I just went in, I messaged them. I said, here's my internship link on
yeah,
my website. It lives on my website constantly, year round.
mm-hmm.
Little application form, little video, like
Yeah,
marketing my internship. Here's the link.
yeah,
Hey, can you share this on your club, little
yeah.
internal messaging platform, please?
Definitely, definitely. Such, yeah, I mean, that's such a good tip for people who are going out and looking for those.
Yes, brilliant. I love it. Okay, go find an army of interns. It's so
Right.
much fun and such an amazing way to give back and help the
Definitely,
next generation because this next generation needs experience. There's so many amazing college grads that haven't been able to get the experience that they need to get into the workforce. Like,
Mhm.
it's really the
definitely,
underemployment rate for recent college grads is really, really high right now. So give this generation the opportunity to get resume building, give them internships.
definitely. I think that that is such a good tip. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jenna, Naliyah, thank you so much for your time. This has
of
been
course,
super, super helpful.
Great.
of
Well,
course.
thanks,
Thank you for
Felena.
having us.
Yes.